Hello and welcome back to the Adventures of Midlife.com channel. And welcome to St. Lucia, a Caribbean island of volcanic peaks, lush rainforests, and great food. And today I am taking you on the Soufriere experience, an almost full day adventure packed with hikes, hot springs, mud baths, and waterfalls. So buckle in. I was in St. Lucia for 4 days and I had arranged this tour for my first full day. This was also the only tour I had arranged when I reached the country, which is unusual for me. I usually try to book at least 3 or 4 tours. My Soufriere experience started with a little confusion. The driver showed up on time, but the list of stops, not exactly what I had expected. The tour company's website had a long list of options and I had written to them saying that I'm not interested in some while I would like to spend more time on others, and they wrote back saying, no worries, talk to your driver/tour guide and it will work out. But the guide had a list and that was a very short list. We called them and there was some confusion and they mentioned that they had sent me an email where they had listed the places we would visit and that tallied with what the driver had. I was traveling and I had missed that email. But travel teaches you to go with the flow. So off we went, winding along St. Lucia's famously narrow, hilly coastal roads. The landscape was astonishing, but challenging. It's not just that most of the coastal roads where I spent most of my time were narrow, but they were also uphill and downhill, as well as at times with sharp turns. But our driver was a good one, and the landscape was beautiful. Banana trees swayed in the breeze, houses perched on stilts, and in the distance, the Caribbean Sea sparkled like a blue mirage. After the drive, we reached Soufriere, St. Lucia's former capital and currently the second largest city after the capital, Castres. It appeared to be a very charming town, some European vibes. An old church with a tall spire rising into the sky, colorful stores and houses lining up the narrow streets. And I already had seen them, the famous landmarks of St. Lucia, the Pitons, Gros Piton and Petit Piton, two volcanic peaks standing tall and majestic. They are not just landmarks, they are symbols of the island itself, and they are UNESCO heritage sites. The Pitons were formed hundreds of years ago due to volcanic activity and stand grand with lush vegetation in the background of Soufriere. The taller of them, the Gros Piton, is 793 meters tall, while the smaller one, the Petit Piton, is 643 meters tall. There are hiking trails on these two peaks. And despite being the taller one, the Gros Piton hike is a little easier than the hike on the shorter one. But for me, there was no Piton hike. When I heard that it was too strenuous, I decided to skip that part. Instead, I went on a hike somewhere else, on the Tet Paul Nature Trail, about 45 minutes of nature, sweat, and stunning views. It is considered a medium level hike, so I decided to go for it. We paid the entrance fee and then a guide accompanied us along the hike. It was not too tough, but not easy either. The trail weaved through steps roughly carved into the clay with edges formed up by bamboo. Some parts were slippery with rain and mud, and some were steep. But there were ropes or bamboo railings to hold on to. Some of the terrain was flat for us to take a rest. And at rest spots, the world opened up. The pitons in the distance, the sugar beach gleaming below, and sailboats gliding across the sea like white butterflies. And around us, close by, nature thrived. Pineapple plants, papayas, cashews, bamboo groves, soursop, and plantain trees. The next stop, the volcano. Sulphur Springs is often called the world's only drive-in volcano. And after a few minutes of driving, we drove right into the caldera, and the scent of sulphur, faint but unmistakable, greeted us. On the right side, beyond our reach, I saw steam rising from ground vents. Once at the main entrance, I paid the entrance fee and a guide accompanied me. There was a downstream and I touched the water. That was very hot. If I'm correct, I think in some areas the temperature is as high as 150 degrees Celsius. And then we walked to the podium, which is the closest point to the vents. Many years ago, one could get even closer.
In 1985, a local man had second-degree burns, so that loud, vigorous crater was formed when a man, Gabriel, fell there in 1985. He was jumping to show them the stability of the ground, and it gave way.
Steam was rising from the vents, and at some points I saw the bubbles boiling. And then in some vents I saw black liquid boiling. I also saw the sensors near some of the vents to monitor the seismic activity. This volcano hasn't erupted since 1766, but it is definitely still alive. And then it was time to take a mud bath. And certainly this is the part most visitors, me included, look forward to the most. Buckets of mineral-rich white and grey mud that is formed by the geothermal activity lined the poolside. I applied the mud very literally on my body, and then I let it dry under the Caribbean sun, and then into the hot pools I went. There are 4 pools which are filled by the hot water from the underground. The closer a pool is to the source, the hotter the water is, so I was told. And sure enough, the first pool was the pool I got into first, and it was too hot for me, so I moved to the last. That was just the perfect temperature for me. Muddy, warm, and absolutely soothing. They say the minerals are very therapeutic to the body. After some time in the pools, and went to the cabin to have a change of clothes. There are no showers. It was past 12 now, and it was lunchtime. Lunch was at a local buffet, spicy, savory, and exactly what I needed. And then it was waterfall time, the Toraille Falls. Not too big, not too crowded. It was good for me. I stepped into the large pool very carefully. The pebbles were slippery, but the water was refreshing. Standing under the fall, hands cupped over my head to protect from the force, I felt that it was a perfect cap to the Soufriere adventure. I also had the option to go to the Diamond Falls and the Diamond Falls Botanical Gardens, but I decided to skip them. So our driver took us on a tour to the Soufriere city centers, narrow lanes lined up by stores and people. Well, that's it for now. Today I talked about my multi-hour Soufriere experience in St. Lucia. I did a 45-minute hike, a tour of the drive-in volcano, a mud bath, all followed by a dip in a waterfall. I hope you enjoyed my adventure and see you next time. Till then, ciao.